Hello, Mr. General. Thank you, first of all, for your participation and your willingness to share your assessment regarding to the latest security posture in the world. My first question concerns the situation around Iran, because the situation is very dangerous right now. Current situation and environment is trying to change. And what can you say about the U.S. military assets currently deployed in the region?
So it looks like the military will have everything in place by tomorrow. That's what I see in open press. Is they thought Saturday all the different things they've been moving around will be set by Saturday. So from the military perspective, they have brought together a lot of capabilities to give our political leaders some options. The president has said that he's given Iran another 10 days. And then I saw where he said he's given them 15 more days. So honestly, I can't tell you, George. I don't know. Obviously, I should not know when or if he's actually going to use military force. More concerning to me is that nobody seems to know the purpose. I mean, I see members of Congress complaining that they haven't been consulted, and so I worry that we're getting into a situation that we've done before, where you maybe launch a very effective strike, but then what? What's the outcome that you want with that? I don't know.
We are seeing huge military assets are gathered there. So how would you assess the US military capabilities in the region? What type of warfare could likely characterize a potential conflict?
Well, what I don't see are any land forces. So thankfully, that means we're not looking at something like the invasion of Iraq in 2003. What I see is a lot of air and naval power that would be used to launch strikes against facilities, maybe continue to attack Iranian nuclear capabilities, air defense, naval. I don't know, but it depends on what the purpose is. If it's just to punish, to try and coerce Iran to do certain things, that's one type of attack. If it's to cause the collapse of the regime, then you have different types of targeting. But then what? What would backfill the regime? And the Revolutionary Guard, I don't think is going to just sit there. So honestly, I can't offer any real specifics because most of us watching, we just don't know what he intends to do.
As a military official, what can you say about the power of Iran's military power? I mean, how capable is Iran to counter against such kind of huge forces like U.S. has?
Yeah. I think that certainly they still have capabilities to do certain things like mines in the Straits of Hormuz. They could launch some retaliatory strikes against Israel or any other country that supported this U.S. effort if it happens. But I think so much damage has been done by the U.S. and Israel and other allies over the last many months. But I don't know. I mean, people with access to classified information would have a better sense of what's still out there. I think that they're probably still dangerous, but I think that they are weak.
Sir, let me ask the next question. Now, how concerned are you about strategic bandwidth? Is the West at risk of being overspread between commitments in Ukraine, the Middle East, and Indo-Pacific? Could Russia benefit from this multi-theater destruction?
Well, of course, the U.S., unfortunately, is not really committed that much with doing anything with Ukraine. So I wish we were, but we're not. I think you are seeing, you touch on an important point, that even the United States does not have unlimited capability. They're waiting for aircraft carrier to get there. I mean, that's an example. If the carrier has to move from the Caribbean, for example, to the Mediterranean, those take days to do that. And, at any given time, 4 or 5 of the carriers are underwater or underway on the water, but the rest of them are in maintenance going through. So you don't, even if the U.S. has 10 or 11 carriers, all of them are not at sea. So that's why you need allies. That's why the Trump administration and every other previous American administration has pushed allies to increase their capability to help with freedom of navigation, air defense, containment, all of these things. The U.S. cannot do it alone. That's for sure. And the bases that our allies give us in Europe and in the Middle East, we definitely could not be doing what we're doing now without those bases.
Yes, and my next question is about Russia's full-scale war in Ukraine. Given the current operational tempo marked by traditional fighting, drone saturation, electronic warfare, and incremental territorial shifts, do you believe the war has entered prolonged stalemate, or are there signs that one side could generate significant operational momentum, how to say in 2026, for example?
So I am sure that when I look at what Russia has and what Russia's doing and what Ukraine is doing, I think it is very unlikely that Russia could ever defeat Ukraine. I just don't see them having the capability to overwhelm or break through. This is I just don't think they have it. Ukraine, on the other hand, has become very good at stopping the Russians, but they also do not have the ability right now to eject Russia, to defeat Russia inside Ukraine. So you're right. It is some sort of a stalemate there, given the development of this so-called kill zone and where the drones are out there, and neither side can really move around that. The Russians will continue to kill innocent Ukrainian civilians at night, every night with their attacks, and the Ukrainians don't have enough air and missile defense to fully protect themselves and their civilian population. They're good with what they have, but it's just not enough. On the other hand, and of course we know from history that this tactic by Russia is not decisive. I mean, strategic bombing has never worked in any of our wars. You can't knock the other side out with just air raids, which is what Russia's trying to do now. It is miserable for Ukrainians, but it's not decisive. On the other hand, it looks to me that Ukraine has developed a theory of victory that involves the destruction of Russia's ability to export oil and gas to China and India and Turkey and others. So if they can continue to hit with long-range precision weapons the refineries, and if Europe, both in the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea, would stop the Shadow Fleet vessels that are going out through those two seas, then I think Russia's ability to continue paying for this war would come to an end by the end of 26 or in 27. That would be my guess. But they need some help. Europe needs to help with investing in long-range precision strike for Ukraine, but also stopping the Shadow Fleet vessels. So those are kind of the three big pieces I see of the war. I imagine if you and I have a conversation again in 1 year, it will look a lot like it does right now, unless there is some sort of really significant dynamic injection from the outside of some sort.
I would like to focus on the weakness of Russian forces. We see reports from Ukraine that Kyiv has some advances. At the same time, Russian military bloggers on social media frequently criticize the war effort and claim that Russian losses are very high. How would you describe the overall situation and the power that has right now Russian forces, technically or manpower, based on the news that comes from the front line?
Yeah, it seems like the Russians have unlimited amounts of ammunition, rockets, drones, all of that. I mean, they seem to have no problem with that. I do think that they are having some personnel or manpower challenges. That's why you always read reports of how they're kidnapping immigrants who came thinking they were going to have a job at a factory or something, and they end up in the Donbass. There are thousands of North Korean troops that are in the fight. So Russia has to find external manpower unless they finally decide to do a total mobilization, which would affect Moscow and St. Petersburg. And that would be a problem for them, I think. I have seen reports of some oblasts no longer being able to pay the bonuses that they were paying to lure men from these poorer regions to come join the army. But they still have lots of ways to kill people. And I will give them credit for being very good at electronic warfare. And they've also learned, as have the Ukrainians, how to use drones effectively. But all of their big weaknesses are still their same weaknesses. And if Russia, with all the advantages, starting back in 2014, still only controls about 20% of Ukraine. That's a colossal failure.
I would like to focus on the Caucasus. Some military military observing organizations, experts have stated that Russian political influence appears to be weakening the South Caucasus, but particularly in Azerbaijan and Armenia. These two countries are now forcing their connections with the United States of America. They're trying to build new relations, etc. Meanwhile, Georgian government officially halted the process of Euro-Atlantic integration, and Russia continues to expand economic ties and soft power influence in Georgia. How vulnerable do you believe Georgia is to Russian hybrid influence?
Very. I mean, this was a failure by the West to really totally embrace Georgia and to have a strategy for the whole Black Sea region that would support Georgia and protect their desires to become part of the West with EU and NATO. And instead, we failed to do that. And so the Russians exploited that. And they have access. They have people inside Georgia at the very top that are openly pro-Russian, resourced by Russia, and that's why they have slammed the door shut on the democratic movements. So there is. I think what clearly Russia does not want to see Georgia do what Georgian people want to do. And unfortunately, there are leaders in Georgia that are complicit in that.
In Georgia, a common question is whether the West is doing enough to demonstrate that the Euro-Atlantic path offers not only political partnership, but also credible security guarantees. In your opinion, what signals or actions are currently missing from the Western policy that would more effectively counter Russian influence in the region and in Georgia?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the current U.S. administration is interested more in transactions, not in values. And so I just don't see, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see a willingness by the administration to challenge Russia unless there was some big minerals deal or something of economic benefit to the administration. I mean, they're doing almost zero to help Ukraine, but George, I don't know. In the traditional sense, the U.S. would be continuing to emphasize the importance of helping Georgia achieve what it wanted, integration with the West. I just don't see it from this administration yet. I haven't seen or heard evidence of that. The fact that the vice president went to the Caucasus was interesting to me, but that also had the feeling of kind of a business sort of thing and less about regional security. And of course, the administration has indicated in their recent national defense strategy that, Europe is responsible for the defense and security of Europe. So I just unfortunately don't see the United States playing much of a role in this.
Georgian army and Georgian security in total security abilities was built up helping by the United States, and your assistance is very big and appreciated. It's appreciated by me as well as a former public affairs officer of Georgian Armed Forces. So I'd like you to express your opinion. Please give us your message to the people of Georgia who wants to be part of the Euro-Atlantic family. What would be your message? What can we do?
Well, as an outsider, it's not appropriate for me to say keep fighting, keep risking your life. This is up for Georgian people. But I have so many friends there that I worry about that have been locked up or risk that, and journalists like you and others who are taking huge risks.
Are you alone, sir?
Well, for a fact that there are millions of Americans that respect Georgia and want to see Georgia achieve what it wants. Former Congressman Adam Kinzinger is one of the leading pro-Georgian voices out there. So people are still focused on this, but it's got to be part of a larger effort by Europe as well, along with Canada and others, to counter Russian efforts in the region, in the whole Black Sea region. But I'm reluctant to tell Georgians to keep fighting because, I'm at no risk. They're the ones that bear all the risk. But I do ask people to have a long-term view of things, that we have our own elections in November. And of course, you can see, and many of your audience will know, that our democracy is under huge pressure right now in America. And I worry about the elections coming up in November, that these are going to be very, very contested. And we're going to find out. We're going to learn something about ourselves as a country.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time and for your willingness to share your expertise. I really appreciate that I have a chance to communicate with you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.